Welcome to the Dad Show podcast. How y'all doing?
It's part one today. Is that correct, Lincoln?
Yes.
Thank y'all for listening. Have a great day.
You too.
Welcome to the Dad Show podcast, a show all about impacting, empowering, inspiring, and uplifting information to become a better dad, husband, man, and mentor. And now your host, Ryan Ladd.
Welcome back to the Dad Show, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank y'all for being here, for visiting, for watching. I've got Mr. Jamie Elmore back in the studio with us. He was on episode 4. So today's kind of going to go from that episode forward through his life. If you want to catch out the past history with Jamie, go to episode 4 of the Dad Show, and you can listen to all that. Jamie's been traveling over the holidays. This is right after Christmas, the day after Christmas that we're in the studio, and he's been traveling a lot from Maine, correct? Yep. Is where he currently resides. We went to school together. We worked together. We've been friends for quite a while, and basically, you know, think of you as a brother, man. So you're more than just a friend. You're family.
Appreciate that.
And so every time Jamie comes in, we try to hook up, and we've been trying to do a podcast for a while.
Yep.
And we were able to finally fit it in our schedules and get rest and get everything else going. And so Jamie, I just man, can't thank you enough for being here, for doing this, for joining, and man, I'm excited about our conversation today.
Yeah, it's something I was really looking forward to coming down. I know last time you were just getting it going, and
yep.
I think just passing through. I had like 20 minutes to spare, so I get it, man. It finally actually linked up. So
yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I've been looking forward to it.
Me too, man. Me too. So let's just get it started, man. Let's like I said, if people want to know about your past, we can go to episode 4 and hear all that stuff. But let's shoot forward now. So so in the past episode, we talked about your wife and your marriage and your kids, and you were in Tennessee at that time, and you were moving to Maine. But man, there's been a lot going on since then. So let's hear a little bit of it.
Lord, you ain't lying. So when we last talked, I think we were actually packing the house.
That's right. Yep.
I was in a t-shirt on the podcast because I already packed most of my stuff. So I was nervous anyway. The progression of getting there to where we are now, it's just been crazy. Yeah. We lived in I guess started out, the house we rented didn't work out going up. So we got 3 kids, 2 cats, a dog, and we're in a hotel room for 2 weeks.
And a partridge in a pear tree, right?
Oh, yeah. And my wife has a trip to Salem planned, and so we're digging out clothes from the U-Haul. Then we have to unload this U-Haul because they need their truck.
Oh, wow.
It's 2 weeks this madness. And so then luckily we score a fishing shack.
Sweet.
And it was the nicest old man. But we lived there for 7 months while we were waiting on a house, just getting set up. My wife, she got a great job up there. So things were falling in place, but it gave us a run for our money. She, if I wasn't really pushing her, she's like, we don't have to close on the house. So we were selling our home here, that big Victorian. And, I'd say that was hard too.
Selling the house was hard, or just getting letting it go, or the process? Letting it go. Yeah. Because you've done a ton of work on that house. Man.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But letting that go to make this vision come about, it was a hard sacrifice.
Yeah.
So she's like, we can just tell our friends, hey, pretend this didn't happen. We can go back. And I was like, no, babe, let's stick it out.
Yeah.
And we did. We got our house.
Because it's what you both wanted to do.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't like one of you wanted to do it and the other one really didn't. Like you both had this dream, right. You both had this vision, and it was what you both wanted.
Yeah. And, I think if it came easier, it might not mean as much now.
Yeah.
So going through that time, it was...
Dude, that's a powerful statement, by the way, what you just made. Yeah.
I'm just dropping bombs here, man.
Yeah. That's all you do.
But It's true though.
Yeah.
Because we really fought hard for it. And when we moved in, it literally rained down our staircase one night. You got to think of the time, right when COVID's starting to get super heavy.
Yep.
Is when we decided to move across the country, do all this stuff. So we probably literally got the last good home that you could get, but we still had to gut it.
Yeah.
So here we go again. But now, no friends around, coast to Maine, we're 5 minutes from the ocean at the house that we picked. And she had looked at it before when we were at home. So it's perfect location, right where we like, right where she fell in love with years ago in that area. I mean, we essentially live in Mayberry.
Wow.
And so we stuck it out. We gutted almost every room, not necessarily to the studs every room, but just massive renovation, new roof, redo all the floors upstairs. And of course they put carpet and particle board and of course,
had to tear all that out.
Oh, it was awful.
So let's hit on that real quick. So you moved across the country in the height of COVID.
Yeah.
The rental that you had fell through. You've got this house. It's raining down your stairwell. You and your wife are in this mental battle of, should we go back to Tennessee? Should we stay here? And now you've got this home and you're fully renovating it. And the statement is that if you and your wife can stay together through building a house or renovating a whole house, then you can stay together through anything. So where I'm getting at is man, how much did that build up your marriage through that whole thing, and how did you all navigate to not just give up and let it go and keep your marriage going and stay strong? I mean, obviously you're being a dad at this time too. You've got to be parents and just a lot to juggle, man. I just want to do a quick little hit on how much stronger it made your marriage.
It made it a lot stronger. It gave it more depth.
Yeah.
I'll say that, here, things weren't easy here. We worked hard. We put in the hours. We checked the boxes. We did what we had to do, but this is a massive trial.
Yeah. Yes.
And we didn't have anybody else. We had no friends there. So, luckily my wife has, she's got pretty good coworkers and, so she's got some friends now, but at the time we didn't. So it made us stronger in that we kind of leaned on each other more. We never really fight during renovations. That's one thing we don't really fight about.
That's awesome.
I'm kind of under she's like, well, I want it this color and that. I'm like, all right, fine. So I just go with it. She lets me build stuff sometimes. So
sometimes.
Yeah. She's like, well, we could just buy some. I'm like, no, we could fix this and build it. And
exactly.
so she throws me one of those every now and then. But for the most part, we never really argued during renovation. It's more like we're going to argue over dinner or something.
I got you. Yeah.
Than renovations. So we save the arguments for the food and the important stuff.
The important stuff. Yeah. Exactly. Well, that's awesome, man, that you all have that, your marriage and stuff to be able to navigate through hard times like that, man. And in our last podcast, you were talking about reading some books and doing some stuff to make your marriage stronger and better. And just, man, it looks like it paid off because y'all were able to, and it, yes, it did pay off. Y'all were able to navigate these hard times and get there, but man, how God was building you all up prior to and building you closer and growing you closer and growing you stronger through everything because he knew what would lie ahead. It wasn't like, I'm just going to put you in these waters and see if y'all can sink or swim. He was building your marriage stronger for this to be able to navigate through this. And there's a little bit more that we're going to get into about being able to navigate in hard times and stuff of that nature. Yeah. But, I just want to point that out that I remember in our prior conversations of, you all growing your marriage closer together here before you made this trek. Right. And obviously it paid off.
Yeah. I still, at the time, we weren't falling apart.
Yeah.
When I decided to really try to invest in that. And so I guess you're right. It was a build up for it. And then for us to deal with the struggles that we've had in the past year, which we will get into, to get through those hard times together and to still lean on each other. And, it's like that marriage is 50-50 or 100-100. And
I think it's 100-100. Yeah.
Yeah. But you also find out sometimes it's 80-20, 70-30. And it's recognizing those times during the hard times, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, do you need a break? What do you need? It's where we kind of take care of each other and get through those hard times.
I'll tell you, one of the things I struggle with is, like I'm building furniture, or I'm building my kids a play set, or building anything, trying to better our family, even if it's for my kids, is I get caught up in doing the renovation or the building. And, I'm telling my kids, they're right there beside me, like, hey, Dad, can you do this? I'm like, no, I need to get this done. And, so that time that I'm building it for them, I'm also taking time away from them. So how did you navigate that while you were doing this?
I feel like you called me out. You're right. As men, we get in that mindset, like, got to get it done, move on to the next thing. Cause our lists are so long.
Yeah.
And then we, of course, we don't help because, if our women weren't around, we'd just be, a friend of mine said, if women weren't around, we'd just be running around beating things with sticks. He's like, look at sports. That's what we do. We're men, we're simple. It's, I want to build this for you and it's for you. And she's like, well, hey, can we have dinner? It's like, no, I'm doing this thing for you.
Yeah.
And, you're right. Those are things I probably didn't handle well at times because, I'm in the middle of this massive project and like, hey, can we do this? Or, Kate's like, Daddy, can we go get ice cream? You're working a lot. And I'm like, I don't have time. And, so I've started to kind of hone in on those things. Wife has called me out a few times on those things. Kate pulling at the heartstrings a little. So I think they've kind of showed me that. Nobody's really called me out on it hardcore.
But it just
until just now.
Sorry about that.
But it's okay. No, it's fine.
I'll just put the knife in, twist it a little bit.
It's fine.
I'm sorry. It's so hard though. Like, you're trying to be a dad, you've got a full-time position, you're trying to do extra jobs. You're juggling all the things and you're doing them for the right reasons.
Right.
But it's taken away from the reason.
Right.
And that's, I struggle with that so many times. And I can't remember what I was doing the other day at the house. And, one of my kids come and ask me, hey, can we do this? And I think I was doing the dishes, if I'm not mistaken. And I just literally had that moment. I was like, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this to the side and I'm going to go spend, because that's all they want. They want 10, 15 minutes, just of me time.
Right.
Or not me time, but, just that connection of my dad and me time, or my mom and me time. And, usually their attention span goes on to something else after that, and they want to do something else. But man, that 10 to 15 minutes means the absolute world to them.
It does. And the impact of the no is probably more profound. They might not remember that 15 minutes a year from now, but they might remember a hard no.
Yeah.
In a time where they were just like, well, why didn't he want to hang out with me?
Yeah. It was only dishes. They didn't need to get done.
Yeah. And, they don't understand the storms that are in our minds. And that's something I've tried to really think about is, they don't know that I have to do this to pay for this and to do this so they can have dinner time, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They don't know that. And it's not their job to know that.
Exactly.
And I think an area my wife got me thinking about that is she said, I want our kids to be kids. Because we were talking about, it's like, well, when I was 16, I did all this. And it's like you're forced into maturation too early.
Yeah.
It's like, let them be dopey kids.
Exactly.
And I was like, okay, I can rock with that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're trying to do is, let them just be kids and kind of get in those moments where they do need us and try to be there.
That's been our prayer ever since our kids have been going through their disease and been in the hospital and surgeries and everything else that comes along with that, is that our kids can be kids. They can just play. They can laugh. They can have no care in the world. They can, just do what they need to do as kids. And, God's provided that. Our kids are doing pretty well, and they can, for the most part, we got to go through some stuff throughout the year, but for the most part, God's answered that prayer, man. And that hits right at home with what you just said. Let them navigate their own life and what particular part they are in time, what age group they are. They don't need to be worrying about jobs. They don't need, stuff that just they see on social media, or they're like, oh my gosh, I need to be thinking about this. No, by allowing them to do that makes them mature at their own pace, rather than us, like you said, pushing it on them and making them think that they're older than what they need to be. Yeah. And, helps, I think, make them stronger to grow better relationships throughout their life and figure out who they are, rather than trying to please mom and dad, or rather than trying to please the world.
Absolutely. Young men are, and here's something I've learned about parenting young men. You'll see on the internet the hardcores of both sides. And there seems to be an absence of that practicality in the middle. One of my sons is aggressive and by no means mean. He's a force. When he walks in a room, he has a presence to him. He stands up straight, shoulders back. Yeah. Of course, he's 6'3".
Wow.
And my other one, he kind of walks and tries to stay under the radar. And that's what just, kind of allowing them to, I guess, mature into themselves.
Yeah. Do you think the other one maybe does that because the other one is so bold and, just walks in?
No, they've just, this is the way they've developed.
Okay.
They're introvert, extrovert.
I got you.
We all have our thing. But with each of them, I've kind of allowed them to just mature at their own pace because, as young men, they don't really know when it's time to be a man.
Yeah.
And this was a nerdy conversation I had with somebody. I've been heavily studying the last few years for some of my professional roles. So this was just part of it, some psychology classes. But one thing we were really looking at is the development processes of young men and how, parenting and social influences affect them. And what we really saw was that just forcing them too early into adulthood isn't good because they don't know when they are to transition.
Yeah.
So we were talking about these ancient ceremonies where they would wear this, and I think it was Russell Brand that was talking about this on a podcast. But I thought it was interesting. They wear this androgynous clothing and they make a big deal out of the young men becoming men.
Yeah.
And in modern society, we don't have something like that. So I think as fathers, what I've learned is just I guide them along the way. I don't jump on them anymore. Like we talk about choices and they really love that. Let me tell you, they're like, can't you just scold me? And so I'm kind of more of the Andy Griffith parent now.
I got you. Yeah.
It's like, son, just sit on down here. Let's have a talk.
Yeah. Man, that's so hard. How do you, cause you want to let your anger take precedence and, like, no, don't do that. Or, how do you navigate that?
Cause it's not my burden.
Okay.
I think as fathers, we try to absorb it and we try to think, how can I correct this?
Yep.
And, it's not our job because it goes back to, God has no grandchildren. I guess it kind of rolls that whole theology into it. It's not necessarily our role to correct them on everything.
Yeah.
We have wisdom because we've lived a while. We've done a bunch of stuff, so we can guide them, I think. And I just talked to him about choices. It's like, well, here's the choice you made. You kind of knew what was going to happen. And he tries to be slick sometimes. He's learned now. Hey, can I do this? I'm like, did you ask your mama? The same thing was like, you can do that, but let's talk about the choices you're going to make.
Yeah.
So sometimes he picks right, sometimes not. But he knows what he's getting into.
Well, I know that I learned only from mistakes. I never learned from somebody guiding me or telling me, hey, don't touch that hot plate. It'll burn your hand. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to touch the hot plate and burn my hand. So I had to learn from mistakes.
Oh, me too.
Some people can learn from just telling. No, not me.
I don't think as men we take advice very well anyway because we're just hard headed. It's like, all right, I'll listen a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's not true. I tend to listen to people quite a bit.
As I've gotten older,
Yeah.
I've started to listen a little bit more, but being younger, I would not.
Right.
at
Yeah.
all.
I think the last year or two is where I've started to really listen to other men. And, I think part of this little brotherhood that we all have,
Yeah.
With our closest friends, just really, it's like you trust these people for a reason.
Exactly.
You've kept them around. It's like, what little tidbits can I take from this person? And it's like, okay, maybe he's right.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Every
very
now
true.
and then I'm right. It's not often.
Not often, but
Not often. I'm the misfit friend.
according to my wife, I'm never right. So
I'm not. It's okay.
but that's awesome, man, that you're, not scolding them or, you're letting them navigate. You're trying to pass your wisdom along through helping them make good choices versus trying to yell it in or, at certain times beat it in, anything of that nature. So that's really awesome that you're handling in that direction. And obviously I sense that it's paid off, that it's helped. And,
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it builds a good base relationship.
Yeah.
Because if I'm yelling at you all the time, you probably don't want to hang out with me and have dinner with me.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think it's helped in that regard quite a bit. It shouldn't be an adversarial relationship.
Yeah.
We're there to kind of just help you along the way.
And I from my standpoint, my son, like my daughter, I can tell her anything for the most part, and she'll do it. She's a 10-year-old little girl. Like if I barely raise my voice or I give her that look, like I can see that it's in her. But my son, on the other hand, he tests me like every single day and just wants to scratch that scab off and aggravate. And I've noticed that whenever I do raise my voice or, he doesn't accept it as well as I'm like, come here, son, let's have a talk. Let's have a discussion. And so I've tried to, take that same role of I'm mad at you because you've done bad.
Yeah.
You made a bad decision, but let's talk it over rather than me sitting here screaming down your neck, telling you how bad of a decision you made. Let's discuss why it was a bad decision.
Yeah. It's hard to do sometimes.
Yes.
It's hard to do.
Yeah. Because I'm a fireball, man. Like, you flip my switch and, fire comes into my eyes and I'm like, no.
Yep.
And, but yeah, I mean, I've noticed it in my own household that whenever I do sit him down, like, son, that was a bad decision. You're going to have consequences. Either you're going to get spanking, you're going to get disciplined in some way.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and yell at you and tell you it was bad. Let's have a discussion of why it was bad.
Yep.
And that's helped a lot.
Yeah. I like to catch my sons in the truck. It's like, we'll just be going somewhere random. Like, hey, you remember that thing last week? Let's talk about it. They love that.
Because they
Like,
can't go nowhere.
Yep.
I can't go to the bathroom. I can't run to my room. I can't go in here. Somebody distract me. We're in a truck and that's it.
They usually know it's coming too. Like he's been quiet for a day or two. It's coming.
Thank you for watching part 1 and come back tomorrow for part 2. Thank you for listening to the Dad Show podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Show podcast. Please like, review, and subscribe.